a very short introduction today because I have a lot to say, and so to try to minimize the length that this video will be, I put a short introduction. Now, I was born a biological human being, but I identify as an orangutan. So that's that. Because in the world we live in today, you can pretend what you want to be, and everybody else is supposed to play along with your fantasy. Now that I'm not really an orangutan, and I couldn't become a orangutan because I'm a human. But they have in schools where kids now can identify as a kitten cat or, well, kitty cat or whatever. They can identify as a dog. They can identify as a dinosaur. Actually going on in some schools. Now that isn't, depends on how far they take it. I mean, kids, hell, I pretended I was all kinds of animals when I was a kid, and probably everybody did at some point. But this is not just I don't know where to even say, but I'm going to talk about the gendering and the misgendering. Someone's pretending to be a male is pretending to be a female, and you're supposed to, and they want to, in some countries, make it illegal for you to misgender someone. Yes, that's true. In some countries, not in the United States yet, but in some countries, it's illegal to misgender somebody. It's considered hate speech if someone's pretending to be one gender and you call them by another gender, use the wrong pronouns. If somebody wants to be transgender and they do whatever, if they're adults, that's their right. As somebody who is a veteran, I serve so people can have the right to do the things that they want, including that, as ridiculous it is to me. But they don't want, their rights is to force me to validate them. And I don't agree with, I don't have to validate. What about my freedom of speech? They have freedom of speech or freedom to pretend like they're, a girl when they're not or something. And I have to pretend along with them, or I'm breaking the law. I'm in the wrong if I'm not playing along with their fantasy. And that's how I see it. It's a fantasy because I am a biological male. I was born a male. I'm a male. If I decided to be a woman and did all the things, put on the makeup, the dress, got my wiener cut off, and had silicone breasts put in, I'd still be a male. I'd have a mutilated crotch, and I'd still be a male. No amount of surgery, no amount of anything is going to change that fact. Biology is fact. Now that's how I believe, because I believe in science, and especially biology. That's not theory. There's a lot of theories. Evolution is considered a theory, although there are a lot of facts that back up that theory, but it's still a theory. And there's a lot of different kind of theories, but there are a lot of facts too. Biology, male and female, is a biological fact. Okay, that's what I believe because I tend to trust science. And psychologists can go on and say that it's not true. You're they're every bit female, and if they want to believe they're every bit female, if they have friends that want to go play along with it, hey, that's all good, well and good. Just keep me out of it. Okay, that's all I ask. But let's talk about the trans beer. The Bud Light with Mulvaney. They kind of blew that one out of proportion. They didn't produce a bunch of cans with her face on it. They just produced one can, as far as I know, and gave it to her, some TikToker, and maybe Budweiser was trying to get into that market. And I don't really care. I don't drink Bud Light. If I did, I don't think that would affect me from drinking it or not. I don't know. Target, on the other hand, though, they're marketing to kids, and that I do have a problem with that part. Beer is an adult product, but clothes. Now, if a parent wants to buy, I Heart Pride for their kid, they have every right to as a parent. Parents also have a right to say, I don't want that on my kid. And there are schools that are forcing kids to wear pride shirts on Pride Day, which goes against their parents, the belief of the household the kid grows up in. Certain religions, a lot of Christian religions, some Jewish religions, Jewish sects or groups of Jews that don't believe that. Muslims don't agree with that. I don't know if Hindus or Buddhists or if they even care. But, there are people culturally different from that. And you just have to accept it. The gays have accepted it. That they know that there are groups that are never going to accept, that their lifestyle is normal and all that. I think gays have come to peace with that. But the transgender community, they're more hostile, I've noticed. As their group is becoming more and more vocal, even though they're a very small minority of people, very, very small, they're very loud, and they're getting their voices heard, and some of that's good, some of it's bad. And when it comes to children, that's when it's bad. Women's restrooms. Okay, there are guys, if you're a really passable transgender person and you go in the men's bathroom, no one notices that you're a female or a male, and you got a nice scarf around your neck to cover up your Adam's apple or whatever, and you go in there and you close the door and you do your business and you pull up your dress and panties or wipe your ass first and then, flush and leave the women's restroom. That's one thing. But there are transgender people that intentionally show their penis in the women's bathrooms. That. And they're little kids. What if your little daughter goes to the woman's bathroom? You're a man. You can't go in there with her. And she comes out and says, Daddy, I saw this wiener. This woman pulled up her dress and showed us the wiener. That happens. That happened in a school recently. The transgender person was showing their wiener to little girls in a public bathroom. That should raise alarms. Well, the one person's doing it, but we got to protect all the others. Well, what about protecting the kids first? Is it more important to let some transgender person use the women's bathroom, or is it more important to protect little kids using the women's bathroom? I mean, little kids, a bathroom's kind of a scary place because that's when they're away from their parents or teachers, and that's when things can happen. That's where a lot of kids get abducted, is in the bathrooms. That's just reality. I mean, it's better to go in there with it. I had boys, so I never had to. I'm sure my wife had to go maybe let the boys into the women's bathroom and let them use the stall and, guarded it. And I don't think women have a problem with that. I remember when I belonged to a gym and this guy would bring his daughter in to the men's locker room, and I would have to be real careful and keep a towel around my junk. So I didn't want no little kids seeing that. A little girl especially. I didn't know how to react to the guy, but I kind of understood, he wanted to go to the gym and, what's he going to do? He can't just let his girl out of his sight. So, but that is a legitimate thing. Also, there's a lot of people on the LGB without the T, and I'm not sure what the Q is. Maybe it's Dairy Queen. But, there are a lot of them that are upset at the transgender community because this year, during Pride Month, they're very much trying to get kids involved with their sexuality. Not just the fact that they identify as women, but their sexuality. What do you think drag shows are? Drag shows aren't like, You go to Christian Dior or whatever it is, where the women wear the latest outfits. It's not like that. It's sexualized. It's twerking and showing your thong underwear, and you know. And I've seen these videos, so I'm not just saying that. That's what I think. I did research and looked for videos of these drag shows at the libraries and public schools, and they're very sexualized. And why are you sexualizing someone else's kids? That, you know, I'm glad my kids are grown. I don't have to worry about that. But man, people out there that have young kids in public school, they need to be concerned. You don't, you know, so it's a form of grooming. And I really do believe that there are transgender. I'm not saying for all transgender people. Maybe even a minority of the transgender, I don't know. But there are transgender people out there that are trying to groom kids. Kids being abducted is now on the rise in the United States. And there are kids who've been abducted by some of these transgender people using the female bathrooms and sneaking off with someone's kid. That has happened. Has been in the news. Maybe if you only listen to NPR, you're not going to hear about it, but it has been happening. And they're doing a lot of this stuff behind the parents' back. The parents aren't privy to the information. They make these kids watch these pride videos without the parents knowing that their kids are going to have to watch that, even if it goes against the parents' spiritual beliefs. And I got to turn up the next road. These are the back roads near where I live, and they're beautiful roads, and so that's why I'm using it. So anyway, they're doing this behind kids' backs. Now there's some parents that are okay with it, but there are a lot of parents who aren't, and they need to be known ahead of time before the school decides to do this. They may want to exclude their kids from that program or from the school that day when they have Pride Day. You know, if when my kids were younger, I definitely would have excluded them from that. Doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I was very religious while I was raising my kids. It was, you know, during time I was going through theology school while my kids were young. So I was very much into that fundamental Christianity. But that's my right to be into that, just as it's their right to dress like a girl. But I have a right to raise my kids under the belief system that I have. There are atheists out there that don't believe this is right, and they have a right to teach their kids according to what they think is right and wrong, not according to what the school system thinks is right and wrong. And kids, but they're doing it behind the parents' back. They're doing these drag shows. The controversy over the drag show isn't whether or not they can have them. It's whether these parents should be allowed to allow their kids to go to them. That's really the crux of the controversy on that one. And they're confusing the kids. You know, kids don't totally understand everything that we do as adults. They understand aspects of it. They may understand sex, but if you think back when you were a kid, you didn't understand sex like you do now when you were in grade school. You didn't understand the difference in genders to the extent you do as an adult and all this stuff. So they're confusing these kids. A lot of girls are tom girls. And they grow up, most of them end up having families and children of their own. And may even stay tom girls their whole life. I've known had a lot of friends that were tom girls growing up. You know, they were still just as pretty. They just wore jeans and played baseball and went out, you know, catching fish and catching crawdads in the creek and stuff. Just like the rest of us boys did. Everybody's known tom girls. But now tom girls are going to be confused. Well, maybe you're really a boy and maybe you need to transition. there's a lot of adults that kids that are now adults that they were coerced, and I say coerced, into transitioning into a female, and now they're adults, their lives are ruined, and they're trying to transition back. Mailman must be coming by. A dog's going nuts. But you know, you're ruining kids. Let kids decide. Hold on, I'm gonna stop for a minute. So there are adults whose lives have been destroyed because of decisions they made as a child when they didn't totally understand the decision. That's why they need to wait till they're adults decide if they want to become women. No matter how much, they can dress them up in a dress, but don't do anything permanent to these kids. That's all I'm saying. Because you may ruin their entire life, their adult life. They've even done sex change operations on young children, which is just sick. Adults detransitioning. Now, what about sports? Now, this is a hot topic, but no matter how you cut it, Serena Williams actually said on a talk show one time that someone above average tennis player that's male would beat her because they have an advantage muscularly or whatever and speed that women don't necessarily have. She said that. Now, a lot of these female athletes are now on board with the, you know, they have a right to participate. But why should they have a right when women train their entire life for a sport and then have that all taken away from them, so some guy in a dress wants to, you know, compete against them and has an unfair advantage? They should have a transgender sports league or transgender Olympics if they want that. But it's not fair for that. It's just not fair. People say, well, it's not fair to the transgender person. You know, you should compete in your biological gender, not how you feel inside. I mean, what Bruce Jenner, the triathlete, gold medal winner, would that be fair for him to, when he was younger, or he's a her now, whatever you want to say? I don't give a shit, but it wouldn't be fair for Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, if he decided to become Caitlyn Jenner when he was 20 years old, and he would just demolish all female records and they wouldn't be able to even cap that to this day. Let female records be for biological females. It's the only thing that's actually fair. And in beauty contests, they got a woman that won Miss Netherlands, and I've seen her picture. She looks like a female. If John Elway became a transgender person, with these big old horse teeth, you know, she looks like a female version of John Elway when John Elway was younger. I don't know. No way, if that transgender person was a real woman, would have won that contest. They gave it to that person for political reasons, not for who was the prettiest one, not for who, you know, however the beauty contest, they got talents and all these different things they do to win. I guess it's not just looks, but it's the best looking girl, the one with the most poise, the one with the most talented, and all that. And it isn't fair for these other women who are competing in these beauty contests to lose to a guy, but not for the reason other than the fact that, you know, it's political. It shouldn't be political. Politics should not be in these beauty contests, as far as I'm concerned. And that about wraps it up. That I just had to get that stuff off my chest. Been thinking about it for a while. And, you know, that's my take on it. I really don't care about Bud Light, whether they had Mulvaney or had her as a spokesperson for their, that really don't bother me. I don't drink that. I drink Blue Moon. I drink PBR. That's pretty much my favorite go-to drinks anyway. So PBR has a light beer. I drink that when I can find it. But I don't really drink that much beer. Maybe 3, maybe 4 a week. So, sometimes Friday I'll have 2. Might have 2 tonight. I got 2 in the refrigerator, so who knows? Might tie one on tonight. But you guys all have a good day and a better tomorrow.